Hello there, and welcome back to Business Communication. This is a bit of a surprise bonus video for you. I just received word that we fell a few minutes short of our required video time this semester. So this video is an attempt to sort of bridge that gap uh, from what we were supposed to do and what we actually did. Just finding out about that today, and a little disappointed to hear that, but that's life. Sometimes things like that happen, and it is makeup week, and it never hurts to do a little bit of extra review anyway. So this 1 hour long video will be just that, an extra review video. I hope that it will help you again prepare for the final exam, which you now have in your possession. I sent that out yesterday, so you know what to do for the final exam. You're going to be recording just an audio answers to 5 questions that I gave you, and those cover most of the topics that we've discussed so far in our textbook market leader, which we've been using this semester. Just a quick note, as you answer each of those 5 questions for your final exam recording, be sure that you go into detail. It should not be a 2-minute recording that you send me. It should probably be at least 5 minutes. The whole point is to speak as much as possible. Show me how you can use all of the different vocabulary and grammar structures and content, the business content that we've covered so far this semester. So, with that, let's get to some review. And we did work and leisure, and last week we did problems at work. In this book, after 3 units, you have a revision, and so I want to quickly talk about the revision pages, which you'll find here. It's page 32 through 34, I believe. So you'll see here there's a vocabulary, practicing countries and adjectives. So please do that. And then you've got your to be verb activity. So where you from, which word goes in that blank there. But that's a dialogue. So read it as a dialogue. It'll help you. It'll give you hints for how to complete it. Then we have our WH question word activity. So you're going to write what, where, or who. So blank is Mr. Santos from. You need to look at the answer here to help you. So if I say he's from Cuenca, Ecuador, that's a place. So that's probably going to be where. Where is Mr. Santos from? He's from Cuenca, Ecuador. So that was Unit 1's review. Then down here we have Unit 2 on the next page, 33. So work and leisure. We've got vocab. We focused, if you'll remember, we focused on prepositions for the vocabulary in this section, and prepositions with time. So the new office opens 30th March, or March 30th. And we said with a specific date, we use, do you remember? We use on for a specific date. So the new office opens on March 30th. Go ahead and do that one. And then down here we've got our adverbs with expressions of frequency. So we talked about never and sometimes and often and always, usually, etc. So you need to read the first one. For example, he never wakes up before 6. And which A, B, C, D, or E, which of these statements over here matches that sentence? if he never wakes up before 6. So never, we know it's every day, right? It's not just certain days. So I see every day here, and I see every day here. So let's E, every day he wakes up at 6:15. Well, he never wakes up before 6. So that looks good. Let's check B out. Every day he wakes up at 5:45. So that's before 6. If he never wakes up before 6, then E has to be our answer. Right? Every day he wakes up at 6:15. All right, next section, you're gonna these sentences, these questions are mixed up. So you have to put them in the correct order, and you'll see they give you a nice hint. The first word is capitalized, and that's a question word. So you know where to start. So for example, number 1, what do you do in your free time? Okay, and then for writing down here, there is a short email to write to a new colleague telling them about yourself. So this is just a little introduction, introducing yourself to a new coworker. All right, and then our last revision is from Unit 3, which again was problems. And we talked about too and enough. Too and enough. So there's too much or too many of something, or there's not enough of something. Something is lacking. So you need to write the opposite meaning here. So if my chair is too hard, how can I use enough with that to make the opposite meaning? It isn't soft enough. So if his hotel room is too small, it isn't big enough. Right? And you'll just continue like that down through number 8. And we also have the present. We talked about the present simple using negatives to make questions. So for example, do you know where Mr. Sato is? And we're going to use a negative do, does, doesn't, don't here. He, so do we say he do or he does? He does, and we're making it a negative. So he doesn't work in this office on Wednesdays. Okay. Where he work? Again, we're talking about he. Where does he work? And you can continue like that. And then finally here we have some more verb action with have, some, and any. I have a car, or I don't have a car, so I take the bus to work. Okay, and you've got all these possible answers up here at the top. Okay. Moving down here we have, you can do the skill part and the writing part. For the skills part, you're just matching, making complete sentences. So can I speak? You gotta find the one that matches. Can I speak? We need two. We need two here. So can I speak maybe to Ahmed Al-Harbi, please? Or can I speak to the manager? That might possibly work. So you'll just match those sentences there for that one. And writing, you're just going to describe your office or a room at home, talking about what things it has or does not have. You can skip this cultures part, eating out. And so that's the review activity. Go ahead and do that. You can just do that in a notebook, and I'll take a look at it when we meet in person. So that's the review, and now we'll talk about Unit 4's topic, which is my favorite topic, travel. All right, and so I'm going to walk you through how to do the unit and which things to focus on, which things you can skip. So this is a good question here just to think about. How often do you travel? Where do you like to go? And do you ever travel on business? You are students, so the answer there is probably no. But remember, in all of our units here, we're imagining ourselves at 40, and you have a job. You're 40 years old, and you've talked about your job. You've talked about what you do at work and what you do in your free time. And you've also talked about problems you have at work. So keep thinking about that job, and then you can answer this question. Do you ever travel on business? Does your work ever send you on business trips? Okay, that'll help you. And then it asks you, when you travel, which of the following do you like or not like? So there are advantages and disadvantages when it comes to traveling. So things you enjoy, like I love, or I like, or I don't mind. That just means it's okay. It doesn't bother me too much. And then on the opposite side, you've got things you don't like or things you hate. Things you hate. So in my case, let's see, what do I like here? I like eating new food, and I like packing my suitcase. That's fun. What don't I like? I really don't like flying. I used to like flying when I was younger, but now I really do not like it. And I hate going through security checks. I hate going through security checks. It's very stressful, especially with little kids and laptops and phones. You have to take them out of your bag, and it's a very stressful situation. Okay, part C here is a listening activity, and I told you that I uploaded the listening files to Canvas. So they are there in the files section. So anytime you see this little speaker here, this little icon, that means that it's a listening activity, and you can see here 147 to 154. You can find those listening files on Canvas. And the same thing here with this vocabulary section. All right. Here this is a little bit more vocabulary. So you're gonna match the verbs that go with the words over here. And these are kind of collocations, so words that frequently occur together. So you buy a ticket, for example, and you have to confirm something. What do you confirm? Confirm means to like check again. And so you would confirm a flight. They confirm their flight. Okay, if you have no idea about one of these, you can feel free to use the internet to look it up and find the answer. This is work in pairs activity. Obviously, you're home without classmates, so it's hard to do that. You can make some notes, think about if you were doing it, what vocabulary would be useful for you. And when we eventually meet in person, we'll be going through all of these speaking activities together. So that'll help you prepare for that. Here, you're just filling in the missing words. And E, again, is another speaking activity that you can look over and think about how you would do that in person, because we'll eventually do that. On the next page, 38, we've got listening. Again, go to your files section. And then down here, we have a little grammar box. So using can and can't, talking about the ability to do something. He can program a computer. I can't speak French. What about you? What can you do? What can you do? In my case, I'm the opposite of these examples. I can speak French. but I can't program a computer. So think about things that you can and can't do. And if you want to ask questions, you just put can at the beginning of the sentence. So can I get a snack? Can I fly direct? And down here we've got, again, this is a speaking activity. But you can make a list of some questions that you could ask your classmates, and we'll do that when we meet next month. Here you've got a dialogue, part B, a dialogue that is mixed up, and we need to put that in the correct order. So put the number 1. They've done the first 2 for you. Okay, and then you can listen and check your answers and see if you were right. Okay, on page 39, you're going back to the exercise. In part B, you're going to use this exercise again, and you're going to write questions using can. So for example, so imagine that you are a teacher and you're making a quiz for your students to check if they listened to and read this dialogue. So one example question is, can Judith and Paul meet on Friday? And then you should also write, what are the answers? Write the answers as well. Okay. Write, I say between 5 and 10 questions and answers. All right, then part F, we've got an email that Judith Priest wrote to Sabrina Monti. You've got the subject here. It's about a meeting with Paul Robinson. And so read this and try to figure out what words are missing. Again, you're going to be using can and can't here. Finally, part G. Again, this is a role play. So read through it, look at so student A is going to look at this card. Student B is going to look at page 137. So that's at the end of the book. And that gives you your role information. Again, we can't really do this online. So look it over, prepare it, think about what language, what vocabulary would be useful, and what grammar you might need that we've studied so far. And make some notes and prepare it that way. Because again, we will do that when we meet in person. Here we have a reading about business hotels. What kind of hotel do you like to stay in when you are on holiday or on business? Do you like a fancy hotel, a luxurious hotel? Or do you prefer a cheaper hotel like a guest house or hostel? Okay, so for part B here, think about if you're in a business hotel, what facilities, what things, amenities, facilities do you expect to find in a business hotel? Okay. And then you're going to look for these words in the text down here. And you're going to read about this hotel, the Hilton Tokyo. The Hilton Tokyo, which is it says Shinjuku Business District. And let's we'll read through this one together here so I can explain some things. There may be some new vocabulary here for you. So I'll read it for you and I'll give you a few little notes as I read. So in the little box here, it says, the Hilton Tokyo is in the center of Tokyo's Shinjuku skyscraper business district. This luxury hotel has 808 guest rooms and a choice of 7 inviting bars and restaurants. So this word inviting is interesting here. If something is inviting, It means it looks very attractive. And when you see it, you want to go there. So you walk past this bar or restaurant and you think, wow, I really want to go inside. That's what inviting means there. Okay, so it says guests can swim in the hotel's indoor pool, play tennis on one of the 2 rooftop tennis courts, or relax in the jacuzzi and sauna in the hotel's 24-hour health club. So it says it has 2 rooftop tennis courts. So rooftop on top of the roof, which is not surprising because it's downtown Tokyo. There's not a lot of space to have a tennis court outside, so they put it on top of the building. You'll notice also some hotels have swimming pools on top of the building. We call that a rooftop pool. Okay, next paragraph. Guests can visit nearby Tokyo attractions, including Yoyogi Park, the Meiji Shrine, and the Imperial Palace. For guests with children, the Tokyo Disney Resort is about 20 kilometers from the hotel. The hotel's 24-hour reception team offers advice on places to visit. Guests can also book sightseeing tours and theater tickets. Shinjuku's busy shops are a 10-minute walk from the hotel. So this is all about locations and the location of the hotel and what's nearby. Okay, and the next one, we get into describing the rooms. Guests feel at home in the spacious rooms with large windows and city views. In each room, there's a desk, air conditioning, and voicemail. Rooms have high-speed internet access, a flat-screen TV, and on-demand videos. So if a room is spacious, it means it's very big. In Korean, you'd likely call it nopda, like wide, but we don't usually use wide in English to describe a room or a place. Spacious is the better word for that. So the room is very spacious. Okay, then we have on the next column here, the Musashino serves Japanese specialties. Le Pergolese offers French cuisine. Guests can try Chinese food at the Dynasty and order a midnight snack at the Marble Lounge. So here we have what food is available in the hotel. You have several restaurants. And the next paragraph, the Hilton Tokyo is the perfect place for meetings. There are 16 meeting rooms. The largest room has space for 1,200 people. There is also a 24-hour business center. And finally, from Narita International Airport, the easiest way to arrive is to take the airport limousine. So this would be a big bus. It takes about 2 hours. Getting around is easy. There's a free shuttle service from the hotel to Shinjuku Station. The hotel is also directly connected to the Tokyo Metro subway. So how to get to and from the hotel is there. Okay, and then it gives you some questions to answer about the reading. And there's some matching here, vocabulary work. And then there's another grammar focus here. There is, there are. There is, there are. So, for example, there is an indoor swimming pool, right? There's one pool. There is. And there are 3 restaurants. There are 3 restaurants. Because there's more than one, we use there are. Then we have there aren't any shops in the area. So shops, that's a countable word, and we're saying there are none. So there aren't any shops in the area. And then we have a question. Are there any meeting rooms in the hotel? Yes, there are. No, there aren't. So you're going to use there is, there are, there aren't any, are there any to complete A and B here. So number 1, it's a very small airport. There aren't any shops in the terminal. Number 2, a problem with my ticket. So problem's countable, but there's only one problem, right? A problem. So are we going to use is there or are there? Is there? Is there a problem with my ticket? And continue like that for the rest of part A. Part B is a pair activity, which we don't have. So again, you can make a list of questions to ask. And this is a role play, same thing. All right, the next page is listening. So you're gonna listen to Simon's conversation here about making bookings and checking arrangements in the hotel. And here we have a role play. So you can skip that for now. Useful language, please pay attention to the useful language here. This is for checking travel arrangements by phone. Checking travel arrangements by phone. Okay, so that is everything in this unit 4. For homework, you'll find that, of course, please leave a comment under this video for your attendance to this lecture. And on Canvas, you will find a homework activity. And today's activity is a little bit different from previous ones. You're going to choose a city that you would like to visit someday. And you're going to go on a travel website like, you could use Agoda or Travelocity or Expedia. Please use it. Go to an English website though. Change the language to English. Don't do it in Korean. And you're going to search for a hotel. Pick a time that you want to go there and search for a hotel in that city and choose one. And then you're going to write in your online discussion, you're going to tell us, you're going to make something similar to this Hilton Tokyo reading. You're going to write your own one about a hotel in a city that you want to visit. So you're going to need to include things like what facilities does it have, the location, what's nearby, describe the rooms, talk about dining, what kind of food options are available in the hotel, talk about business, what business facilities does it have, and then you can describe how to get to and from the hotel, probably from the airport. Okay, so again, pick any city you want with this activity A. Gives you, now this is a pair work activity, but of course you are home alone, you don't have a partner. So think about your answers to these questions. We will do this when we meet in person. So think about not just your answer, but your answer plus a little extra information, and I'll give you some examples of my own here. We're not going to talk about every one, but I'll pick out a couple to give you some examples. Got a bit of a cough. Don't worry, it is not corona. So if I cough a little during this video, please just ignore that, and I apologize for that. So let's start with number 1 here. Do you like to work alone? Or do you like to work in a team? Or do you like to work with a partner? In my case, I'm a little bit shy. I'm a little bit of an introvert. So if you gave me the choice, I would probably choose to work alone. That doesn't mean I don't like people or I don't like to work in a team. I'm fine working in a team. I do well in a team, but I really would prefer to work alone. So the next one is about time appointments. Do you like to be early or on time or late? In my case, I like to be early, actually very early. If I'm on time, I'm worried that I might be late. So that makes me very stressed, and I don't like to be stressed. So if I get there early, I can always read a book or do something else, so I don't get bored. But at least that way I am relaxed and not stressed out. Let's do one more. How about number 3? Do you prefer to work at home, in an office, or outside? Well, because of Corona, I've been working at home, and actually I quite like it. It's very convenient to work at home. It's a little bit hard to teach from home because I'd like to be able to talk more with my students. But as far as putting together lectures and doing preparation, it's been nice to do that at home. So there you have 3 examples of how I answered those 3 questions, and you'll notice that I answered it, but I also gave extra information, and you should do the same when we do this activity. In Unit 1, we did introductions. We learned how to introduce ourselves and each other. Part of that was learning about nationalities and adjectives for nationalities with countries. So I'm American, you are Korean, my friend is Chinese, etc. We also reviewed the verb to be, right? I am, you are, he, she is, we are, they are. So for example, my friends are from Poland, they are Polish. We also reviewed the article and un, and that was very useful in describing our jobs or saying what we do. So for example, I am a professor, you are a student, my father is an engineer. And we talked about WH questions, right? Who, what, when, where, why, and how. Useful when meeting new people to ask questions to find out about them. Questions like, what's your name? Where are you from? What do you do? Etc. And so overall, we learned how to introduce ourselves and also introduce others. So that was Unit 1. Then we moved into Unit 2, which was about, do you remember Unit 2? What was Unit 2 about? That's right, work and leisure. Work and leisure. So for this unit, we focused on talking about days, months, and dates. In particular, we focused on prepositions, using the right preposition with those. So on Monday, for example, or on January 2nd, at night, on the weekend, etc. We talked about leisure activities, what you do for fun when you are not working or studying. So you might think about hobbies, things you like to do when you have free time. And for grammar, we use the present simple to describe what you do either at work or at play. So these are things you usually do or generally do, so we use the present simple for that. So for example, I attend meetings every Monday, or I play basketball with my friends on the weekend. Finally, we discussed adverbs of frequency to tell how often you do something. So for example, I always attend meetings on Monday morning, or I usually play basketball with my friends on the weekend. So that covers units 1 and 2. And next we'll move into unit 3. In unit 3, we discussed problems. That's right, problems, especially problems you might have at work. And we used to and enough. So if there's too much of something, use to, and if something is lacking, you use enough. So for example, my boss is too strict, or I don't have enough time, or my salary is too low, or I don't make enough money. And we did present simple with negatives and questions. So for example, my colleague doesn't come to work on time, or where do you work? Where do you work? And so that verb do is important for these types of sentences. And last for grammar, we did have and some and any. Have and some and any. So, do you have a problem? We have some problems. Do you have any meetings today? No, I don't have any meetings. Like that. For our discussion portion, we talked about how to solve problems, and specifically on the phone. So there's something wrong, and you're going to state what the problem is, give details, and try to find solutions. All right. Pop quiz. What was Unit 4 about? Do you remember Unit 4? It was about... That's right. Travel. Travel. One of my favorite topics. We learned about can and can't. Can and can't. For example, I can't speak Japanese. My friend can program a computer. Right? Can and can't. The ability to do something or not do something. We also used there is and there are to talk about what things are in, for example, a room. So, and we use this to talk about hotels and hotel rooms. So, for example, at the Hilton Tokyo, there is an indoor swimming pool, right? Because there's one. So we use there is, and there are 2 swimming pools. There are, because we're talking about 2 things, plural. And for our language focus, we did how to make bookings in a hotel and check travel arrangements. So that covers units 3 and 4. In Unit 5, we learned about food in different countries, food and entertaining. And for grammar, we did some and any. Some and any. So some in positive statements. There are some good restaurants downtown. Or to offer someone something. Would you like some more tea? And any for most questions. Do you have any pizza? Do you have any beef? Do you have any carrots, for example? And you can also use any in a negative statement. So we don't have any pizza. We don't have any pizza. And we did count and non-count nouns. Right? So if you can count the number of things, you use many. And if you can't count it, you use much. So many apples, right? Much time, much rice. So how many hours do you work a week? How much money do you have? And we can use a lot for both of those cases, count and uncount. And then we did some decision making. So you're having a meeting, you're suggesting, giving opinions, agreeing and disagreeing with each other in the meeting. Moving on to Unit 6, that was about buying and selling. Buying and selling. So how to choose a product or service. And we used past simple for our grammar in this unit. And we to talk about time references, right? For example, I went on a business trip in August. They worked on the sales campaign from February to March. Okay, so that's past simple and past time reference there. And then we described products, how to talk about a product. What does it have? What does it look like? What color is it? Talk about its size and weight, its features, how much it costs. Okay, so that covers units 5 and 6, and we have just 3 units left. Moving along to unit 7, which was, if you remember, about people in unit 7. So we talked about how you like to work. Well, your preferences. Do you like to work alone, in a team? Do you like to work at home or in an office or outside? And of course, we described people, particularly personalities related to work. So some people might be ambitious or creative. They might be helpful or punctual. We learned lots of new adjectives there. For grammar, we did past simple with negatives and questions. So for example, I didn't like my colleague. There's a negative. And a question, did he leave the company, for example? Okay. And you can also, it's a little different with the verb to be. So for example, my friend wasn't good at his job, so he got fired. Or was Dan good at his job? No, he wasn't. All right. That included, so for question forms, we talked about starting with is or can, with the to be verb or can verb or do verb for yes and no questions. So is he creative? Can she do it? Do they work hard, for example? Okay, that brings us to unit 8, which was about advertising. And in this one we used comparatives and superlatives to describe products. Comparatives and superlatives. So if you remember comparative, you're just talking about two things. So this one is better than this one, or A is more expensive than B. And superlatives are for 3 or more things, where you say this one is the largest, this one is the best, this one is the cheapest, etc. We did much and a lot or a little and a bit to help us compare things. So for example, a Matiz is much cheaper than a Genesis, right? Or a Chevy Spark is a bit more expensive than a Kia Morning. Okay. We also did how to participate in discussions, to ask for an opinion or make a suggestion, and give an opinion whether you agree or disagree with the other person. That brings us to Unit 9, the last unit we've done, um, and that was about companies. I know some of you are iPhone fans, so I thought I would include this little picture of an Apple store here. With companies, we described companies, what they do, for example, how many employees they have, things like that. And we used for grammar, we used the present continuous tense. Right? So something that is happening now or a temporary situation. So, for example, what is John doing now? That's an example of happening now situation. Or if you want to do an example of the temporary situation, like costs are lower in Vietnam, so we're moving production there. Maybe not forever, but for a short time. Okay, so that brings me to the end of this review. In the next slide, I'm going to give you a bit of information about the rest of the semester, and that will be it for today. Okay, so that completes our review of units 1 through 9. Just a couple of final things I want to mention. Starting in week 10, which would be May 18th, we're going to be meeting in real time. I will not be making PowerPoints anymore or videos anymore. You're going to need to log into the video conferencing platform called Zoom, which I already sent you a Kakao message about. And we will all meet there, and we're going to do our speaking practice. We'll go back over units 1 through 10 and do those activities, the speaking activities that we have not had a chance to do yet. So you've spent a lot of time learning the language that you need, but you haven't had really a chance to practice using it in real life yet. So we're going to be doing that from week 10, May 18th. Make sure you download Zoom as soon as possible and start looking around. It's very easy to use. I'm sure you are all pretty tech savvy, better than I am, so I'm sure it will not be hard for you at all. If you have a problem with it or a question, be sure to send me a message well before May 18th so that we can get it working for you. And that's it. Again, I know that most of you are not watching these lectures because of the comments I'm seeing this morning from Unit 8. No one has commented properly yet, so that tells me that you're not watching the full lecture, because in the lecture I told you specifically what type of comment I wanted, and no one has done that. So hopefully that changes for next week. Next week will be our final PowerPoint lecture before moving into the Zoom real-time classes. So with that, I'll say goodbye. Thanks again for your attention, and I look forward to meeting you soon in Zoom. Bye now. Using Zoom, so we'll be able to see each other and hear each other at that time, May 18th. using Zoom. So the second video will be a little introduction to Zoom and how to use it. All right, so let's get into Unit 9. We're talking about companies here. And in the textbook, we've got a little quiz to get you started. So you may have some ideas about some of these answers, and some of them you may have absolutely no idea at all. That's fine. Just do your best. And when you're done, you can check your answers on page 131. Check your answers on page 131 and see how you did. I did not do super well the first time I took this quiz. I learned lots of new things from this quiz. Excuse me. All right. So then here it asks you about famous companies from your country, whether you are from Korea or Nepal or Vietnam or Mongolia. Think about what are some of the most famous companies and what do they do or make and why are they special. Okay, so our vocabulary focus for this unit is on describing companies, to be able to use language to talk about what a company is and what a company does. So here we've got two companies. One is called Dalotech. One is called Green Shoots. And you'll notice that we use, we make an adjective here to describe that company. It's a very useful way, very efficient way to talk about it. So Dalotech is a large car parts company. So, right, it makes car parts and it's a big company. Green Shoots is a small garden products company. So they make products that people use for gardening, maybe tools and pots for plants and things like that. Okay, so you're going to read through 1 through 12 and decide which company is being described here. And there's some great vocabulary here that I'll point out, like workforce, that's the number of people. Whoops, it's a little hard to write all that, so let me just delete that. Workforce is the number of people. You've got this verb exports, so it sends things to other countries. Manufacture, a fancy way to say make or produce. Introduces, so it comes at if it introduces new components each year, it brings out new part. Component is a part each year. Employs, great verb here to talk about how many people a company has working for it. Of course, sell, we know that one. If you don't remember, abroad just means overseas in a different country. Makes, that's similar to manufactures. Those words are kind of synonyms. This one is, that gave you all the that gave you all the information, so just skip that one. And then supplies, so it provides supplies for something. Launches, starts or introduces, and provides. Again, we have some great words. So really focus on these new vocabulary words, because you're going to use them in your online discussion to talk about a company and what it does. Okay, and so you see here which have the same meaning. So started, what word is the same as started? Right, began. Began. So you'll find synonyms within those 12 sentences. Okay. Here you've got a profile for a company, right? And you're going to use some of those underlined verbs in exercise B and put those down here, find where they go. Okay. This would be a good activity if you could use this as a model to write your own profile for a company that you know, maybe a company from Korea or another company that you know well. This would be a great, we might do that for homework actually. Okay, for listening, you've got your files on Canvas that you can use to do these, and also the scripts in the back of the book to double check them. Language focus today, present continuous tense. So a temporary situation or something that is happening right now, right? Right now I am making a video for you, right? Right now my kids are walking to their grandpa's house. Right? That's something that is happening right now. You can also use it to talk about changes. So these days costs are lower in Vietnam, so we're moving production there. That doesn't necessarily mean that right this moment someone is moving things to Vietnam, but it just means that there's a change happening, and so we are in the process of moving things there. So think about generally, not necessarily specifically happening right now. Okay, so use the information in this chart to go ahead and fill in the blanks here. And we'll go down to our reading, which is about this company called Gamesa. So you're going to read about this company, Gamesa, and what it does, what it makes, where it sells its products, etc. Before reading, make sure you do this and try to see if you can guess what these words mean. Then read, and then you can go back and complete this fact file about Gamesa. So nationality, what country is it from? Make sure you turn that into an adjective here, right? So don't write like France, you would have to write French. How many employees? Where? How many countries does it have sales offices in? How many factories does it have? Etc. Okay, and then this one, don't worry about. We'll be doing that in person soon. Once we start using Zoom, we'll get back into all of these speaking activities so that you can practice speaking. We haven't had much of a chance to do that yet this semester. Okay, this will give you some new vocabulary that came out of the article. So word partnerships, right? So combine one word in this column with one word in this column to get a word partnership. So we'll do one together here. Wind plant, wind center, wind turbine, wind offices, wind turbines seems to be the best. Let's just go back up here and double check. Oh, look at that, right in our first sentence, wind turbines. So we are good to go for that one. We can continue in the same way for the rest. Here we've got using simple present or continuous present. Okay. So we use the blank to describe permanent situations, things that will not change. So they said, I work in Paris. That is the present simple. And we use the blank to describe temporary situations, often happening for a short time. So for example, I'm working in Paris this month. That's a temporary situation. And so we're going to use present continuous for that one. So let me give you a real example here that you all would know and understand. I could say I work at Gimcheon University. I work at Gimcheon University, right? That is my employer, and that is where I work. However, because of coronavirus, at the moment, right? Or for now, I'm working from home. We're not having classes at the university on campus. So, temporary situation, I'm working at home. I'm teaching online. So, what about you? Think about something temporary that you are dealing with these days. And use this, give me an example here for attendance. Whoops. For your comment on YouTube. Oops, again, this is a little tricky. An example, one of these for your attendance on YouTube comment. Okay. So you can use either present simple, try to do one of each. So I want 2 sentences for your YouTube comment for attendance. One of general present simple to describe a permanent situation, something that does not change. And then one to describe a temporary situation, something that is happening for a short time and possibly will change in the near future. And then you can go ahead and do the grammar activity here. And again, we've got another profile, learning about a company, excuse me, called Pret à Manger. And you're going to use the present simple or present continuous to fill out those missing blanks there. All right, the role play don't worry about because we're not meeting online quite yet in person. We'll do that another time. And we've got some skill practice here, how to start a presentation. So please listen to this one and then number each item in the order that you hear it. What comes first, second, third, fourth, fifth, etc. And then try to match these 5 headings to these items. So, and there should be 2 for each one. Okay, there should be 2 for each one. So for example, greeting the audience. Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name's Robert Ford, right? That's definitely greeting the audience. So we would say C. Okay, there might be one other one too. All right, this one don't worry about. We'll do that in person when we meet. And go ahead and look over this useful language though. We're gonna do some presentations later when we meet in person and where you present a company. And this is helpful for doing that. So make sure you know how to do that, how to use those. And you can, okay, for your homework on Canvas, go to the online discussion for unit, for week 9. And you're gonna do this, you're gonna write out your speech. So this is meant to be an oral presentation, but you're gonna just write it out for now. We'll turn it into an oral one at another point, but for now, go ahead and write out a speech. Okay, use this, all of this to help you, right? How are you gonna start it out? How are you gonna talk about your plan and what are your aims? What's the topic? All of that. Use this language to help you. And then write out your talk. Okay. You can use, remember, we're imagining that we are 40 years old and we work for a company. So you can use that company to for your talk here. So talking about what services you provide or how many employees you have, etc. If you don't know exactly the real numbers for these things, don't worry about it. You can make something up. But you should include these things in this section here. Okay. Again, you're just writing it out. You're not talking. We'll save the talking for Zoom time. Okay. So that's that. Again, remember that your comment for attendance is based on this page. What page is this? 86. 2 sentences. 2 sentences. One should be present simple. One should be present continuous. Okay, and again, make sure you do your homework as an online discussion in Canvas like we have been doing so far this semester. Okay, as always, if you have any questions, please send me a message on Kakao. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Thanks for listening, and I'm really looking forward to seeing you soon in person on Zoom. Okay, take care, everyone, and see you soon. Bye.